Experiencing conflict with family, friends, or even a stranger is hard, but dealing with mean or inconsiderate people when you have IBD can be really hard. So today, we're going to discuss how to deal with hard situations to ensure you don't allow people to live rent-free in your head. So, tip number 1. My personal favorite, because I've been told this so many times, you don't look sick. Never mind that you are flaring, never mind that you are on a biologic, never mind that you just got diagnosed with an incurable illness, i.e. inflammatory bowel disease or some other autoimmune disease, and your family or friends or a random stranger looks at you and says, well, it can't be that bad. You don't look sick. This is how you respond to that, because first of all, it is dismissing your situation. It is dismissing your diagnosis, and that can make us feel pretty angry, or it can make us feel really sad because we feel that people just don't understand what we're going through. So if a family, friend, or stranger tells you, you don't look sick, then tell them this. Say, well, what does sick look like to you? What do you think somebody with IBD should look like? What do I have to look like to be sick? Because you can look totally normal to them, and then you can end up in the hospital and almost lose your colon, right? So I understand the severity of your disease because I've lived with it for over 18 years, but it can feel like a gut punch, literally, when, a trusted friend or a family member, or seriously, random strangers, they're like one of the worst offenders, are like, you got diagnosed with IBD. It can't be that bad. You don't look sick. Then, just take a deep breath. Don't lose your emotions. Don't, get super angry, because then then you're not keeping your composure. And I know that can be hard, trust me, because I can go from 0 to 100 really quick, especially when I'm on steroids. But if they say you don't look sick, take a deep breath, try and keep it together and say, well, what does looking sick look like to you? What do you think I should look like? And see what they say. Odds are they may backpedal, or they will be like, oh, I thought you would look pale. I thought you would look, XYZ, and be like, well, how do you know I don't look like those things? And then you can follow it up with, well, this is what being sick looks like. I just pooped blood 8 to 20 times a day. I have excruciating gut pain. I feel like my digestive system is on fire, and I can't really eat anything because I'm really sick. See what they say. People make the most inconsiderate comments, and a comment like, you don't look sick, is invalidating. It is invalidating to us, and it is not understanding, and it's quite dismissive of our, diagnoses. We know we're sick. We shouldn't have to prove to people that we're sick. They should just shut their mouths when we say, oh, yeah, I was diagnosed with IBD, or, oh, I kind of had a rough morning. Instead of saying, you don't look sick, maybe they should shut their mouth. So when you start pushing back in a respective but matter-of-fact way and get them to think about their thoughts, maybe they'll stop making dismissive, ridiculous comments. Tip number 2, when they say something mean. So, they could say like, oh, well, I think you're over-exaggerating, or your illness can't be that bad. You're here. One of my personal favorites that I used to get, I would ride my bike because that was my outlet. That was how I released some anxieties, and I would work through my head, even though it was quite possible I could possibly have an accident on my bike. I still forced myself to ride my bike. And luckily, every time I got on the bike, my digestive system kindly, kind of went to sleep and allowed me to ride. I mean, I didn't literally go to sleep, but I never pooped myself while riding my bike. However, as soon as I got off the bike and my ride was over, I had to find a bathroom immediately. But people would tell me, well, how can you ride your bike if you're sick? Or you must not be that sick because you can ride your bike. Or, if I would go to the grocery store, they're like, well, but you're walking around. And what they didn't realize was I literally had to not eat anything the day I wanted to do something so I could do it. So should I have to justify like, oh, well, in order for me to ride my bike, I don't eat for several hours and I'm hungry, but riding my bike is important. We shouldn't have to explain our situation. So if they say something mean, then again, put it back on them. Say, wow, can you repeat that comment? Because that was pretty inconsiderate. Or you could just say, I feel like your comment was inconsiderate because, and odds are, like if you ask them, can you repeat it? can you repeat what you just said? Or wait, I didn't catch that. Like, what? Can you tell me? Then maybe they will think, and maybe they won't, because there are some people that just don't get it. Tip number 3, they consistently violate your boundaries or say something dismissive or mean over and over again. Trust me, every family has, a chronic offender, right? There is usually, most times, going to be either a family member or a friend that you knew prior to being diagnosed. It could even be a coworker, right? You knew them prior to being diagnosed, and then you got diagnosed, and they are just overly critical of everything, right? So somebody like this, you have to realize that they are not good for you. If they are making you so angry that you are constantly thinking about it and it's making you super upset and you're internalizing things, you need to get rid of that person. And it is okay. It is okay to drop family and friends if they don't support you. If they make you constantly feel combative or they are constantly saying mean things, they are not in it for your best interest. They could care less. They care more about being right or being mean than, being understanding of your condition. So if that's the case, then seriously, just drop them like a 10-ton rock, because you don't need them in your life. Because when we deal with conflict, if we don't deal with it, if we just make excuses for them, like, oh, grandma always says that, or oh, my mother-in-law always says that, or, that's just how they are. No, that's not just how they are. That is making excuses for them and giving them permission, like without you realizing it, to keep treating you badly. So empower yourself and realize, no, I am not going to let this person constantly and consistently violate my boundaries. They don't care about my best interest. I don't want anything to do with them. And it's okay. Because if we just internalize things, which I did for years, it really wasn't until about 5 years ago that I stopped trying to, and I didn't realize I was people pleasing. Like, somebody would say something really stupid and I'd be like, oh, there she goes again, saying something stupid. That's just how she is. Oh, she just said I need a tummy tuck. Wow, that was really inconsiderate. Doesn't she know? Like, I have IBD, and if I got my stomach cut open, like, I could possibly flare or develop scar tissue, and it could exacerbate my IBD. Like, I used to think about these things and be like, these people are so rude, or these people are so inconsiderate. But then I would say, oh, that's just how they are. No, until I finally empowered myself and realized, you know what? I don't have to put up with this. They are constantly violating my boundaries, constantly saying mean things. I don't have to deal with this. And guess what? You don't have to deal with it either. So I just want to empower you to let you know it is okay to stop being friends with friends, even if you've known them forever. If they don't have your best interest at heart, it is okay to not talk to family members. I don't care how close you all used to be. If they cannot support you, and if they are constantly making you feel bad about yourself because they're criticizing your illness or your dietary choices or literally anything, you can push pause. And when they decide that they want to work to get your trust back, or they've realized what they've done, or maybe they won't realize it, because many people don't realize things that they've done, right? You can at least move on. Because if we do not deal with conflict head on when it happens, and I'm not saying you have to be mean back, I would love for you to keep your composure. Like I said, if somebody says, well, you don't look sick, take a deep breath and say, well, what does sick look like? Or, if, in my case, somebody in your family says, I think you'd feel so much better about yourself if you had a tummy tuck. What I should have done was say, why do you think I need a tummy tuck? Or, can you repeat that? Why do you think I need a tummy tuck? And then, just deal with it when it happens. Because if you do, then you are able to let it go, right? You will not constantly carry it around with you. And when we internalize things, it can exacerbate our illnesses, because we are already most likely anxious, especially if we're flaring and we're having issues, going to the bathroom. That can be anxious all in itself. But then having to deal with conflict, or somebody dismissing your feelings or invalidating your diagnoses, who doesn't live your day-to-day life but proceeds to tell you, how you should be living or why you're not as sick as you truly are. If we don't deal with it head on and we internalize this conflict, we internalize these horrible feelings and make excuses for these people, like, oh, this is just how they've always been. Oh, this is how grandma's always been. Ugh, your mother-in-law, or, your mom's just always been like this, no, that just needs to stop, right? And so it wasn't until about 5 years ago that I found my voice and I started dealing with conflict head on when it happened. And was it the popular thing? No, not to the family members who, and the friends that experienced it. When I finally pushed back, when I finally found my voice and pushed back, then they tried to gaslight or play the victim or whatever. But I knew that I was in the right because I had suffered long enough in silence. I had made excuses long enough for them. And I decided, no, you do not live my life. You are not worthy. Nobody is worthy of living rent-free in your head in a negative way. And I took my power back. And guess what? I established hard boundaries. And if they violated it, see you later. I don't need you in my life. It's over, right? And so I just really encourage you, if a conflict occurs with family or friends or even strangers, because everybody has an opinion sometimes, in a gentle, composed way, and it doesn't have to be gentle, but at least in a composed way, push back. Because if you get super angry and you start yelling, then they'll be like, see, she's crazy, right? And they stop listening to what you're saying. But if you take a deep breath and say, can you repeat that? What does being sick look like to you then? Or, just throwing it back in their court, or be like, oh, wait, I must not be feeling as well. I must not be as sick as I say I am. Then how do you know? Were you in the bathroom with me? And again, we shouldn't have to consistently defend our positions, but sometimes that's how it is. If there's a person that constantly makes you feel like you have to justify how sick you are, even though, again, like I said, you're going to the bathroom 10 to 18 times a day with, bloody bowel movements. You have excruciating digestive pain. You feel like your digestive system is on fire. No, we don't have to prove ourselves to anybody. And so in a composed manner, deal with conflict when it happens, and you will feel, hopefully, empowered. And it will help you not internalize things, because the last thing we need to do is internalize hurt and internalize conflict and make excuses for people who could care less about us, because if they did, they wouldn't make us constantly defend ourselves and our, why we're as sick as we are. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. And I hope this has taught you all kind of how to deal with conflict in a composed manner. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe, share if you found this helpful, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon.